Okay, hello all of you. So we have understood dominant epistasis and recessive epistasis. As I just said in the lecture, they are the most important gene interactions जो नीट एग्जाम में आ सकते हैं. I'll be honest here, if you all don't have the time, you all need not see dominant recessive epistasis. Beautiful logic. टाइम होगा तो ही ये वीडियो देखना, टाइम नहीं होगा तो सिर्फ समरी पढ़ लेना एंड जस्ट अ डे बिफोर द नीट एग्जाम उसके अंदर जो 3-4 लाइन दी है, आई जस्ट रिपीट इट फॉर यू दैट क्रॉस बिटवीन व्हाइट लेगहॉर्न एंड व्हाइट गैंडोट शोइंग डोमिनेंट रिसेसिव एपिस्टासिस. Cross between white leghorn and white gandot showing dominant recessive epistasis shows 13 white chicken and 3 colored chicken. Cross between white leghorn and white gandot showing dominant recessive epistasis showing 13 white chicken and 13 colored chicken. सिर्फ इतना याद रहेगा बहुत है. If you have no time, please stop this video and continue studying your NCERT or your physics, chemistry, whatever. If you have the time, please understand what I am teaching you here. Beautiful concept. What is dominant recessive epistasis? Beautiful logic. The dominant allele at one locus, capital I, capital I, capital I, small I, capital I, capital I, capital I, small I, and recessive alleles at another locus. Recessive alleles at another locus. Small c, small c, small c, small c give rise to the same effect. Give rise to the same effect. तो उनसे same effect आता है. तो ध्यान से कैपिटल I and small c, what should have capital I normally done? Epistasis, and small c should have become hypostasis, or that would be called dominant epistasis, और उल्टा भी हो सकता था. What should small c have done to capital I or capital I? Small c should have done recessive epistasis. What we learned in the second video? Recessive epistasis. So small c should have become epistatic and capital I, small I should have become hypostatic. So first lecture के हिसाब से capital I should have become epistatic over small c, and that would be called dominant epistasis. And according to the second video, small c should have become epistatic over capital I or capital I, small I, that would be called recessive epistasis. But in this kind of gene interaction, check this carefully, that dominant gene capital I or capital I, small I, and recessive genes of another locus, small c, show the same effect. इनका effect same है. So it is neither dominant epistasis nor recessive epistasis. Neither has capital I becoming epistatic over small c, which is dominant epistasis. Neither are small c becoming epistatic over capital I, which is called recessive epistasis. But because they show same effect, capital I, small c, or capital I, small c, दोनों का same effect है. This is rightly called as dominant recessive epistasis. What is this called as? Dominant recessive epistasis. On the day of the NEET exam, सिर्फ ये definition एक बार पढ़ लेना. सिर्फ definition. What is the definition? Dominant allele at one locus and recessive allele at another locus give rise to same effect. Then what is that called as? Dominant recessive epistasis. इसे नोट्स में अंडरलाइन भी कर लेना और ये डेफिनेशन याद रखना जस्ट द डे बिफोर द नीट एग्जाम. बाकी सब इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. Next, we continue. Other gene combination small I, capital C, small I, capital C, small c produce the second phenotype. तो ये उल्टा है. What did capital I with small c produce? Same effect. Because they were dominant. And with recessive allele, they produce same effect. अभी उसका just उल्टा. That not capital I, but small I with capital C, or small I with capital C, small c. Small I with capital C, or small I with capital C, small c. Which means capital I is not dominant, capital I's are recessive. In other words, it is not capital I, small c, but it is small I, capital C. तो इससे एक different effect आता है. इससे एक different effect आता है. So, what will capital I, small c, or capital I, small c show? Same effect. But उसका उल्टा, where I is not dominant, I is recessive, and C is not recessive, but C is dominant. Ulta. What will then happen? Small I, capital C, small I, capital C, small c will form a different effect. This is dominant recessive epistasis. Now, let's take an example. The F2 phenotypic ratio. So how many types of phenotypes are obtained? Two types of phenotype. एक होगा capital, small, एक होगा small, capital. So these are two different phenotypic effects. But importantly, either there is no capital I becoming epistatic over small c, so no dominant epistasis, no small c becoming epistatic over capital I, no recessive epistasis, rather the capital I, small c show the same effect. So it is called as dominant recessive epistasis. I hope you understood this. If not, pause the video and see this again. Then continue. Now we take an example. White plumage in poultry. White plumage of Jandor or Plymouth rock. Capital C is recessive to colored plumage small I, which is called recessive epistasis. Check this out. Capital C. उससे कौन सा कलर बनना चाहिए? White plumage of chicken, poultry. एक नाम है यंडॉट और प्लायमाउथ रॉक. ये यूएस में कुछ चिकन है जिसके ऊपर स्टडी किया गया. तो यंडॉट या प्लायमाउथ रॉक, उसके अंदर फेदर्स, प्लूमेज का व्हाइट कलर, कैपिटल C is recessive to colored plumage small I से colored plumage होता है. What is that an example of recessive epistasis जो सेकेंड वीडियो में हमने किया. So what will small I become epistatic over capital C. Small I will become epistatic over capital C. So what will they show? Small I show with capital C, colored plumage. What is that an example of recessive epistasis? That is an example of recessive epistasis. And what will capital I with small c show? White color. That will show white color. Or what will capital I with capital C also show? White color. तो white color. Colored किसमें आएगा? Colored plumage. Colored plumage will be when there is small I. Then small I with capital C is also colored because of recessive epistasis, and small I with capital C, small c is also colored because of recessive epistasis. I hope you have understood that. तो यहाँ recessive epistasis किसका आ रहा है? Recessive epistasis आ रहा है other gene combination, small I with capital C, small I with capital C, small c. उससे आएगा different effect. What is the different effect? Color. And जो हमने किया था definition में कि what will capital I with small c, capital I with small c, or capital I with small c, small I with small c show same effect. Same effect is which one? White chicken. तो याद इतना रखना है, कलर के लिए कौन सा कॉम्बिनेशन जरूरी है? कलर के लिए स्मॉल आई होना चाहिए, स्मॉल आई होना चाहिए, एंड स्मॉल आई होना चाहिए, एंड साथ में अगर कैपिटल C होगा, then small I with capital C will show colored plumage, or small I with capital C, small c will also show colored plumage. And what has small I become? Epistatic. What has capital C become? Hypostatic. What has small I become? Epistatic. What has capital C, small c become? Hypostatic. And what is the combination small I, capital C, small I, capital C is colored. What is the combination small I, capital C, small I, capital C, small c is also colored. तो ये कलर होगा. तो व्हाइट के कॉम्बिनेशन कौन से है? व्हाइट के कॉम्बिनेशन है कैपिटल I, कैपिटल C. उससे व्हाइट बनेगा. कलर्ड के लिए क्या होना चाहिए? स्मॉल आई. तो यहां स्मॉल आई नहीं है, तो कैपिटल C will form white. Capital I, capital C, small c will produce white. Capital I, small c will produce white. Capital I, small I, capital C will produce white. Capital I, small c will produce white. I'm sorry, that's just a repeat. And capital I, capital C will produce white. तो ये सारे white की कॉम्बिनेशन हो गए. White के लिए क्या जरूरी है? White के लिए जरूरी है कि चाहे आपका C कोई भी हो, कैपिटल C हो या स्मॉल c हो, कैपिटल C हो या स्मॉल c हो, कैपिटल C हो या स्मॉल c हो, I should be capital. I should be capital. I अगर capital है, then what will it show? White plumage. Then it will show white plumage. I, if it is capital, will show white plumage. When will you get colored plumage? You will get colored plumage only if it is small I, capital C, if it is small I, capital C, or small I, capital C, small c, तो होगा colored plumage. अब एक golden word. What if you have small I, small c? If you have small I, small c, then you will get white chicken. Because recessive epistasis किस पे होता है? डोमिनेंट अलील पे. recessive epistasis किस पे होता है? डोमिनेंट अलील पे. And what will be recessive epistasis of small I over capital C or small I over capital C, small c? Then it will show recessive epistasis over dominant allele. But समझो it is small I, small c. Then double recessive small I cannot show recessive epistasis over small c, and it will still produce white chicken. So once again, which are the combination of your chickens? Sorry all of you, just a second. I'll just maybe send you the snap also so you remember. White plumage के लिए कौन से combination हो गए? Capital I, capital C, capital C, capital I, capital C, small c, capital I, small c, capital I, capital C, small c, capital I, capital C, small c, small c, small c. Important क्या है? That you have to have capital I and capital C or small c. Doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, small I, small c doesn't matter. Will still produce white plumage. When will it produce a colored plumage? When it is small I, capital C, small I, capital C, small c. Then small I will show recessive epistasis over dominant allele, capital C, or capital C, small c. If you've understood, good. If not, pause, rewind and see this again. If you've understood, we go ahead. F2 phenotypic ratio is 13:3. F2 phenotyping ratio is 13:3. Check this out. White plumage leghorn, capital I, capital I, capital C, capital C. What does capital I, capital I, capital C produce? White. It's pure breed, white. It's crossed to a pure breed, yan dot, small I, small I, small c, small c. What does small I, small I, small c, small c also produce? White. Will also produce white. And F1 generation has got white plumage. Capital I, small I, capital C, small c. Capital I, small I, capital C, small c. So what is that kind of plumage also called, or what is plumage? Feathers of the chicken called white plumage. And now when F1 generation itself or crossbred, you heard this, crossbreeding, white and colored plumage in the ratio of 13:3 is produced because recessive epistatic gene also produces the same phenotype as dominant epistatic gene. Recessive epistatic gene also produces same phenotype as dominant epistatic gene. Capital I, small z. Dominant epistatic produces white. Dominant epistatic. Or small c over capital I, sorry, small c over small I. What will it still produce? White. Because of recessive epistasis. Because of dominant recessive epistasis. When will you get colored chicken? Only when there is small I, capital C, small I, capital C, small c, in which small I become epistatic over dominant allele, capital C, small c, or capital C, capital C. तब आएगा colored plumage. Let's now understand this. Capital I, capital C, white leghorn. Small I, small c, white yan dot, which is another name for it, will form gamete, capital I, capital C, will form gamete, small c. And when they are brought together, what does F1 generation show? Capital I, capital C, small c, which is a hybrid white. So what does capital I, capital C, small c show? Hybrid white. So once again, what does capital I, capital C show? White. What does small I, small c show? White. What does hybrid capital I, capital C, small c show? White. So parents are white, F1 generation is also white. Now when F1 generation will form gamete. Now we have done it many times, so I would repeat it fast. And we have male gamete, we have female gamete. Let's see what happens. You got, check this here, capital I, capital C, white. 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 Capital I, small c. Capital I, small c will also produce white. If you remember, capital I with small c, our first combination, will also produce white. So capital I with small c will also produce white. Capital I, small c, white. Capital I, small c, white. Capital I, capital C, white. Capital I, capital C, white. Capital I, capital C, white. Capital I, small c will also produce white. Capital I, small c will also produce white. And check this here, that small I, small I, small c, small c. Small I, small I, small c, small c will also produce white. So, small I, small c also produces white. So, you got capital I, capital C, white. You got capital I, small c, white. You got small I, small c, white. Once again, you got capital I, capital C, white. You got capital I, small c, white. You got small I, small c, white. कोई भी कॉम्बिनेशन है व्हाइट मिला तो चलो कितने व्हाइट मिले? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 white. 13 white. You got 13 white. कौन से कॉम्बिनेशन में मिले? You got capital I, capital C, capital C, capital I, capital C, small c, capital I, small c, small c, capital I, small c, small c, capital I, capital C, small c, small I, small c, small c. So, चाहे capital I, capital C हो, white मिला. Capital I, small c हो, white मिला. Small I, small c से भी white मिला. तो, which is the other phenotype? The other phenotype, different phenotype is color. And color, we remember, will be small I, capital C, small I, capital C, small c. So, here we got small I, capital C. Here we got small I, capital C, small c. Here we got small I, capital C, small c. Which means 1, 2, 3 are colored. 3 are colored chicken in which small I has shown recessive epistasis over dominant allele, capital C or capital C, small c, and small I, homozygous condition, small I has become dominant over capital C or capital C, small c, and what have they produced? Color, which is the different phenotype. बाकी सब कॉम्बिनेशन में क्या बना? White phenotype. कौन से white phenotype? Just a quick recap. Capital I, capital C, capital C, capital I, capital C, small c, capital I, small c, small c, capital I, small c, small c. That's a repeat. I'm sorry. Small I, small c, small c. Capital I, capital C, small c. सब कॉम्बिनेशन के अंदर चाहे वो डोमिनेंट एपिस्टासिस हो या रिसेसिव एपिस्टासिस हो, you got dominant recessive epistasis showing same effect, white. Only the other combination in which you had small I and capital C or small I and capital C, small c, then double small I showed recessive epistasis over dominant allele, capital C or capital C, small c, to produce a different effect, that is color. So, I hope you all have understood this. We end the lecture with only what you have to remember all of you for the NEET exam. ये सब सिर्फ understanding के लिए था. What will you remember? You will all remember cross between white leghorn and white Yangot. In other words, white chicken show dominant recessive epistasis with 13 white and 3 colored chicken. 13 white and 3 colored chicken, that is dominant recessive epistasis cross between white leghorn and white Yangot. So once again, rapid fire, I want you all to remember dominant epistasis found in fruit coloring cucurbita pepo summer squash shows fruit coloring cucurbita pepo due to dominant epistasis show 12:3:1 ratio, 12 white fruits, 3 yellow fruits, 1 green fruit. Recessive epistasis found in coat coloring mice shows, in case of coat coloring mice, recessive epistasis shows phenotypic ratio of 9:3:4, 9 agouti, 3 black, 4 albino, coat coloring mice, recessive epistasis. Dominant recessive epistasis, remember, found in plumage coloring poultry, cross between white leghorn and white Yangot shows dominant recessive epistasis showing 13 white and 3 colored chicken. ये लास्ट वाले जो मैंने 3 कॉम्बिनेशंस किए, इसको वापस से एक बार वीडियो में देख लेना, रिवाइंड करके अपने नोट्स के समरी में मार्क कर लेना और इसको मेमोराइज कर लेना. बाकी का वीडियो सिर्फ एंजॉयमेंट के लिए था, अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए था. नाउ यू सी इट टुडे, or sorry, see it tomorrow after reading, but don't waste time in seeing it again and again, even if you have not understood. Please don't waste time. You will forget it. तो पूरा डिटेल पढ़ने के लिए टाइम नहीं रहने वाला है आपके पास. So just understand it today, get the concept today, all of you, and see the video tomorrow, go through it, and please underline only definition अंडरलाइन करना, एंड जो समरी में दिया है एट द बिगिनिंग उसके अंदर डोमिनेंट एपिस्टासिस, रिसेसिव एपिस्टासिस एंड डोमिनेंट रिसेसिव एपिस्टासिस, इसके एग्जांपल्स और इसके F2 phenotypic ratios पढ़ते हैं. ऑलराइट, चलो, टेक केयर, see you all, God bless you. Any doubts, please WhatsApp me, call me out, feel free guys.